India is no longer just defending its borders, it is now defending global peace. In the aftermath of the gruesome Pahalgam terror attack that left 26 civilians dead, India launched Operation Sindoor, a precision military offensive that dismantled terror camps inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But New Delhi didn't stop there. In a historic move, India sent 59 parliamentarians across party lines, divided into 7 high-level delegations to 33 countries with a clear agenda to hold Pakistan accountable on the global stage for its decades-long export of terrorism.
On May 7, 2025, just 15 days after the terror strike in Pahalgam, the Indian Armed Forces executed a highly coordinated and surgical offensive, Operation Sindoor. Multiple terrorist launch pads, training camps and logistical hubs in Pakistani-occupied territory were destroyed. Targets included key facilities of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, responsible for carrying out some of the deadliest attacks on Indian soil over the last 2 decades. This was a message of resolve, a response that was strategic, swift and uncompromising. Soon after the military success, India turned to diplomacy. A coordinated global outreach program was launched by the Ministry of External Affairs. 7 multi-party delegations comprising 59 Indian MPs were dispatched across continents, from the Americas to Asia, from Europe to the Gulf, to rally international opinion and expose Pakistan's deep-rooted terror links. These delegations are engaging with foreign governments, national parliaments, think tanks, media organizations and human rights groups to highlight Pakistan's repeated use of terrorism as a tool of state policy, its sheltering of UN-designated terrorists and its complicity in cross-border attacks against civilians.
The central idea behind this objective, this is a political mission. We want to make a strong outreach to the world to convey our resolve to fight terrorism. We want the world to come together to fight terrorism tooth and nail in all its forms and manifestations.
The first stop for one of the delegations was the United Arab Emirates, a key partner of India in the Gulf region. Indian MPs met with UAE's Minister of Tolerance and held comprehensive talks with defense and foreign affairs officials. The United Arab Emirates reiterated its zero-tolerance stance on terrorism and expressed support for India's efforts to combat extremist networks.
Our commitment toward India's national security is non-negotiable. India is a strategic partner. It's not only with the government, it's with the people, it's with the nation. We have a history of relationship with India. We want to take it to the next level.
In Tokyo, Indian lawmakers were welcomed by Indian Ambassador C.B. George and briefed extensively on India-Japan strategic coordination. The delegation held discussions with Japanese think tanks, policy makers and foreign ministry officials, underlining Pakistan's dangerous use of proxy terrorism and India's right to self-defense.
Members of parliament from different political parties came together with one voice: zero tolerance to terrorism. And the message was loud and clear from the Indian side. To our Japanese friends, to the diplomatic community, to the media, they went everywhere with one voice. This is a great achievement.
In Russia, Indian parliamentarians met with senators and foreign policy advisors in Moscow. The Russian side unequivocally condemned the Pahalgam terror attack, expressed solidarity with the Indian people, and reaffirmed its support for India's counter-terrorism efforts.
I think we are happy when we go back and when we leave Russia. We know that Russia stands with us. And Russia is a very important country globally. And so the message that Russia understands India and stands with India is very important to us.
One of the most high-profile delegations was led by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, who travelled to New York and Washington DC. Speaking at the Indian consulate, Tharoor said India had exercised strategic restraint for decades but could no longer stay silent. India hit hard and hit smart, he declared.
We're just sending a message to terrorists. You started, we replied. If you stop, we'll stop. And they stopped. There was an 88-hour war. We look back on that with a great deal of frustration because it needn't have happened at all. Lives have been lost. But at the same time, we look back on this experience with a steely and renewed sense of determination. There has now got to be a new normal. No one sitting in Pakistan is going to be allowed to believe that they can just walk across the border and kill our citizens with impunity. There will be a price to pay, and that price has been going up systematically.
The delegation also engaged with US lawmakers and policy institutions, emphasizing that Pakistan's state complicity in terrorism must invite tangible international consequences.
India's message has already resonated strongly across global power centers, from Washington to Tokyo. But the diplomatic drive doesn't stop there, as India's MPs span out across regions often overlooked in traditional foreign policy circuits. From Latin America to the Gulf, the aim is clear: to build a broad-based global coalition that isolates Pakistan diplomatically and morally for its continued sponsorship of terror. Let's now take you to Latin America, the Middle East and beyond, where India's outreach is gathering momentum.
The Tharoor-led team did not stop in the US. They also reached out to Latin America. In Guyana, the delegation held a high-level meeting with President Mohamed Irfan Ali, who strongly condemned terrorism and voiced complete solidarity with India.
Terrorism and extremism has no place in this world. Terrorism and extremism is against every aspect of human dignity, and we reject it in every shape and form, and we believe that everything must be done to ensure that terrorism and extremism is defeated at every front.
In Panama, MPs met Assembly President Dana Castaneda, who publicly supported India's anti-terror mission. Addressing the Indian diaspora in Panama, Shashi Tharoor exposed Pakistan's decades of terror support and asserted that India's patience had run out.
Pakistan has chosen a policy of enabling terror, and not just enabling but creating terrorist establishments, financing them, training terrorists, equipping them. There have been examples in the last 20 years of attacks in New York, in London, in Madrid, in so many different parts of the world, which have been blamed provably on Pakistani terrorists or terrorists trained in Pakistan and brought to these countries. This is the sad reality we are facing today.
Another Indian delegation led by Baijoyant Panda visited Bahrain, where they met parliamentarians, influencers and Deputy Prime Minister Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa. The discussions focused on shared threats of terrorism and India's role as a stable, democratic, regional leader. MP Asaduddin Owaisi, part of the delegation, called Pakistan a failed state, exposing its growing economic dependence on terrorism as a strategic tool. The parliamentarian from Hyderabad, Asaduddin Owaisi, strongly called for Pakistan to be placed on the Financial Action Task Force grey list again.
When Pakistan unleashed whatever it had no amount of damage happened in the mainland India. Yes, in the Poonch area, we know what has happened. But the air defense system, I mean, what has been said by the government in the media is that, you know, all our technology, all our warfare was able to stop whatever was thrown from a failed state like Pakistan. Our government has taken all the steps to protect the life and limb of every Indian, and we have, this government has made very clear. Next time you take up this misadventure, it will be beyond what they are expecting.
In France, parliamentarian Ravi Shankar Prasad led another multi-party team. They engaged with French parliamentarians, business leaders, and the Indian diaspora. Prasad emphasized that while India continues to seek peace, it will not tolerate terror or provocation. The delegation presented dossiers on Pakistan-based terror networks and their recent infiltration attempts. Europe's role, they said, is vital in cutting off financial and diplomatic oxygen to rogue states using terrorism as policy.
The Honorable Vice Chair of the Defense Foreign Affairs Committee, along with all her colleagues in the Senate, in this majestic building, has only one word to say. We are together with India in the fight against terrorism. And Pakistan has also suffered, and they totally agreed that France and India, nay, the whole democratic world, need to speak in one voice in the fight against terrorism emanating from Pakistan, supported by the state of Pakistan.
Delegations also visited Singapore, South Korea, and Qatar, where they engaged with local media, strategic think tanks, and diplomats. The Indian message remained consistent. Pakistan's terror networks pose a threat not just to India but to the entire civilized world. India's bold diplomatic offensive following Operation Sindoor marks a paradigm shift in the way democratic nations respond to terrorism. Gone are the days of reactive statements. New Delhi has merged military precision with diplomatic strategy, exposing Pakistan on every front: political, economic, and moral.